To go ahead and get started. My name is Sarah Owsley. I'm the Policy and Advocacy Director for Empower Missouri, and hopefully you're in the right classroom. This is the Empower Missouri Week of Action. Today we're going to talk about affordable housing. I lead the affordable housing work for the state, and as many of you I see coming into the room, I know you before, and we've probably had lots and lots of conversations about affordable housing across our state, and so you'll know that I am relatively passionate about that topic. Here's today's agenda, just to give you a brief rundown about what you can expect and what we're going to talk about today. Just a quick note, I am totally fine being interrupted for questions that come up. So please, if you have thoughts or questions that you need me to slow down and explain better, I'm happy to do that. I do speak very quickly. And am really okay with being interrupted and able to jump right back in. I have many children, so it's a very normal experience for me to not be able to finish a thought. I need to come back to it. We are going to get started today. Here's our agenda. We're going to start. The senator was not able to join us, so her chief of staff, Kyle, is going to join us and chat with us just for a minute about the importance of advocacy. We're going to continue our series of training on what is advocacy. We're going to talk about an earned income tax credit. That's the policy that we're going to advocate around today, and how that links to our affordable housing priorities. Share ways you can engage with our organization and what we hope you do when we're done here. So a brief history of Empower Missouri. We are about a 120-year-old social justice agency doing policy advocacy around our state. We're focused predominantly at the state level, though we do some amount of regional work and are certainly engaged nationally as well. Our mission is to secure basic human needs and equal justice for every person in our state, and we do that through legislative advocacy, encouraging people experiencing poverty and the agencies they interact with to influence those laws that pass in Missouri and locally. We use coalitions to focus our priorities on criminal justice reform, nutrition access, affordable housing, and HIV justice. This week, we are hosting this week of action, encouraging our coalition members and other folks who might be interested in our organization to participate and have others join us as well as we talk about a priority for each of our policy areas. And today is affordable housing. So we're going to get started with Kyle. Hopefully he's on the line here. I stole this photo off of LinkedIn because just about 10 minutes ago, he agreed to sort of step into the place of the senator who is working right now in committee. So we greatly appreciate his willingness to join us and talk about how his office is influenced when citizens and neighbors take the time out to reach out to them about policies that are important to them. Kyle, are you on the line with us?
I don't see him yet, Sarah, but I can interrupt you as soon as I see him join.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We will just kind of roll on here and hopefully we hear from him soon. Like I said, he really did just kind of jump in at the last minute, so we appreciate that and are very flexible. Kyle works for Senator Arthur, who filed the Missouri Working Family Tax Credit. That's what we're going to talk about today. Our Affordable Housing Coalition sets their own agenda, and 2 years ago, they identified a state-level earned income tax credit as an opportunity to help families in our state make ends meet. That could include moving costs, paying deposits, being able to pay arrears to prevent a forced move. There are all sorts of links between supporting people with low incomes, bringing home more of that pay, and their ability then to have stable housing as well as other types of stability. So we've kind of rooted all of our days in words of wisdom, and today I chose a quote from Nelson Mandela: "As long as poverty, injustice, and gross inequality exist in our world, none of us can truly rest." And I think that that's all-encompassing the many aspects of work that we do at Empower Missouri. This week, we have broken down what we think are the 4 steps to effective advocacy and assigned them to our different staff members who are leading each of our days. So on Monday, you really heard Christine Woody talk about how we can find our passion, whether that's an introspective kind of quiet process of really considering what's at the core of what we care about through journaling, meditation, just spending some time steeped in research. Or perhaps you're a little bit more goal-oriented like Christine is, and create a list instead of all the things that are seem really important to you, the policies that seem really important to the people that you work with or to your neighbors, and kind of ranking those to determine what is the issue that you are most passionate about, what is going to feed you, what are you going to be able to work on for a long time without burning out, as well as what can you be most effective in. Yesterday, Mallory talked about the Schoolhouse Rock song, explained it a little bit more to us, helped us understand what process bills in Missouri, the Missouri legislature go through, and how we can influence those that bill at each process, and how and where our voice is needed to make sure to have the biggest and most successful impact. Excuse me. Today, I'm going to talk about the importance of building a public relationship with your lawmaker, working with them so that they know the issues that are important to you, becoming their go-to person on that topic that you are most passionate about. And tomorrow, Drew is going to bring us home and share with us the importance of coalition and partnership in this work, and the need for us to all work together. There is strength in numbers, there is strength and importance in having a large group process as we work on really passing the most equitable public policy we can in Missouri. So on my task of how to connect with your lawmaker, the very first step that I want you to really look at is to become a rain or shine voter. Voting every chance you get helps to keep you politically engaged in the process and knowledgeable about the lawmakers at the candidates level, and then as they move into office potentially. Down ballot races often have low turnout, but those folks fill seats that with like substantial impact over what really happens to you and in your community. So make sure that you are voting for school board, your city council or boards of aldermen, judges, voting in primary elections. My grandpa used to talk about voting for dog catcher if they let him. Voting is the key to effective advocacy. And if all your organization ever does around advocacy is voter engagement, that has a huge impact in our neighborhoods and in our communities. Once you're elected though, stay in touch with those lawmakers. Make sure that they know who you are. It's really not any of their business whether or not you voted for them. And so only share that if you feel like that's important and relevant information, but staying in touch, letting them know that you're a constituent in their area and here are the things you care passionately about. Make sure that you get involved or as early as you can. However, it's never too late. Tomorrow, you can reach out to a lawmaker and begin to build a relationship with them. You can find who your current lawmaker is right now at senate.mo.gov or house.mo.gov. They'll have you just put in your address and find your lawmaker. And at the end of today's webinar, we've put together a spreadsheet of all the lawmakers' contact info, their social media accounts, et cetera. Follow those accounts, interact with them online as well as in person. Join their mailing list. This is particularly important right now during COVID because there are not so many in-person meetings happening. So joining mailing lists is a way that we can find out where your lawmakers are already speaking, where they may be talking about topics that are related to the issues you care about, and meet them there. Show up in those spaces with them. Stay in touch. Meet them in district when the legislature isn't in session. The legislature, as Valerie explained, meets January through May every year in the state of Missouri, but they don't meet on Fridays usually. So you can often meet with your lawmaker in your district on Fridays or over the weekend, have a cup of coffee, spend some time getting to know them, share new data and information that you get. If you work at a nonprofit, have them to your facility, have them tour the work that you do and steep them in that. It's really important to continue that relationship and build that relationship, even if you believe your lawmaker is aligned with your priorities. Stay in touch with them anyway. It helps to give them cover for when they need to demonstrate support for the issues that they are passionate about, or when they are working on behalf of you on the issues you're passionate about. But it also helps them remember that there are people who in their district and where they stand. It helps to ground them in what are the important things that are happening back at home while they are in Jeff City. Here's some helpful things to remember. The first is that lawmakers are just regular folks. They show up on the first day of this new job with the same amount of information on whatever topic as they had the day before. They are often not experts in poverty. And there are not a lot of folks who walk around the halls of Jeff City who talk about issues of poverty or affordable housing. I say regularly, nobody talks about affordable housing unless we make them. But the folks you're working with, your lawmakers, they're just regular folks. You can connect with them on a variety of topics. They live somewhere near where you live. Their kids attend schools near you. They might attend churches near you. Remember that you can connect with your lawmakers because they're just regular people. We also want to remember, don't prejudge lawmakers on their gender, their race, their political party, or any other identifier. Oftentimes, we might be apt to dismiss somebody because of how they identify or how they show up in some sort of space, but have conversations with them before you decide what they're going to think about your priority topics. Be respectful. Don't lie, don't exaggerate. Sometimes you might have 30 seconds, so share your best and most relevant data. When you do get direct face-to-face time, be sure to thank them for that time. They're busy, right? They're going to vote on hundreds of bills over the course of the legislative session. And don't threaten them unless you can really back that up. I think there is value in agitation, but there is also a time and a place for that type of tactic. And so unless you really have the support, don't tell them their seat is at danger unless you really mean that. But you will find more receptive lawmakers if you just be respectful of that interaction and that time. Be yourself, personalize everything that you send. When you work in coalition, often we'll give you a phone script or an email template. In fact, we're going to do that today. But you should alter those to be your own. When lawmakers receive kind of the same email a couple of times, it's got some amount of weight. But when they receive different emails about the same topic, it has more weight and a whole different kind of an impact. And remember that Missouri has term limits. Lawmakers have 8 years really in each chamber to accomplish their goals, which is good and bad for us both, right? It could mean that you have 8 years to work with somebody to accomplish similar goals. It could also mean that you really only have to wait 7 or 8 more years before someone else comes along. And the third thing that's really about that topic is that the staff in the building often are more senior than the lawmaker. They may have been there longer. They may have more experience, more contacts. Meeting with staff in the Missouri legislature is not a plan B. Oftentimes that's a win if you meet with a staff person instead of the lawmaker themselves. Any questions real quick before we kind of move into the actual policy that we're going to be chatting about today? Very good. And we still haven't heard from Kyle, huh? I guess not, because I have not been interrupted.
Not yet.
Not yet. All right, well, we might just have a short meeting today, which would be fine. So today we're going to talk about the unearned income tax credit in Missouri. Right now, that's called the Missouri Working Family Tax Credit. That act is currently attached to Senate Bill 153. Which is what we call the vehicle, which is sort of jargon for this particular bill on its own did not move forward quickly enough to be viable to pass in both the House and Senate. And so it was attached to a bill that was already moving. It was amended onto a bill that was already moving. And now all of those things are together. Senate Bill 153 has a lot of other tax reforms which are included. And I did not want to get into training everybody around what all of those other things are. So if you are a representative of a nonprofit who's really engaged and knows exactly what's in Senate Bill 153 and you support all of those things, then when you interact with your lawmakers today, you can say Senate Bill 153. However, you can also just call it the Working Family Tax Credit or a state level earned income tax credit. Either of that language should be understood by your lawmakers to help you get what you want done today. These programs return some of the tax dollars that are paid by workers with low income. Currently, Missouri taxpayers already receive this on their federal taxes. They will receive a portion of their federal taxes back if they paid into the tax program and if they have earned income. So this is income from a job. The state level credit would apply to Missouri taxes that you've paid if you are a person with a low income. And so what it does is basically boost your take-home pay for these families who are working minimum wage or low wage jobs to help them make their ends meet. Here are some things you can share about EITC programs when you interact with your lawmaker today. They are pro-work, and particularly the Missouri Working Family Credit only applies to working parents. So it even further incentivizes work. One thing that we have to recognize is that it takes resources to be employed. And I think if folks sort of take a step back and consider that, that makes total sense, but it's not at the top of mind when we talk about employment. Communities might require that you have your own transportation to be employed. Certainly you've got to pay for wardrobe or uniforms, childcare, meals, etc. It often costs to work a job or to work a full-time job, especially for parents. And so this is a way that we can help support more people get back into the job market by helping to boost that take-home pay and the resources that they have available to be able to pay for those things. EITCs help make ends meet. We adopted it with the Affordable Housing Coalition because we know it's closely connected with how families in poverty can stretch to make their budgets work. Tax refunds can be a stabilizing infusion of cash resources, which can allow folks to pay deposits, down payments, moving costs, etc. All sorts of things to help them be able to live more stable lives and avoid disruptions. EITCs are usually spent pretty quickly in local economies, and that means they have a multiplier effect that benefits business owners, employers, your local taxing jurisdictions, etc. These are not dollars that are just sort of squirreled away to help pay for, your next yacht. These are dollars that are spent relatively quickly back into the community, helping to have a multiplier effect on our communities. And finally, EITCs have long-term benefits for our state. Receiving households have improved health and mental health outcomes. Kids in these households have higher educational attainment. More of them graduate high school, more of them go on to college. And they have lifelong higher earning potential. So not just does it benefit the family right now and help them to earn more money, but it helps those kids who grew up in those households to go on and have higher earning potential across their lifespan. So in a few minutes, we're going to wrap up here and we're going to send you out to practice advocacy, to engage your lawmaker, your House of Representatives member, and talk about state level earned income tax credit or the Missouri Working Family Tax Act. But first, I just want to share some information about how you can get involved and stay connected to Empower Missouri. You can join our coalitions around affordable housing, food and nutrition access, criminal justice reform, and HIV modernization. Clearly, you have participated today in our week of action. The previous sessions, if you missed them, they're available on our website. You can kind of watch those and engage in advocacy around nutrition access and criminal justice reform. Sign up for our mailing list and join some of our events, or become a donor of Empower Missouri and help us continue to do this work. And here is some information around where you can find us on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram. Here is my contact information, as well as just a general email address for the organization if you have any questions. And then, unless Kyle's here and we can bump him up here real quick, I'm going to send you out to practice some legislative advocacy around the earned income tax credit. In the chat box, there should be a link dropped pretty quickly that's got sort of all of the talking points that we went over today. It's got a phone script and an email script for you to share with your lawmakers, and a link to find your House member. Because this package is currently in the House, that's where we really need it to pass through and where we need it to not be removed from the current bill. So please talk about the Missouri Working Family Tax Act with your House member today. So what I'd like for you to all do in the remaining hour here is to call your House of Representatives member, email them as well, do both things, and then share on social media and encourage other folks also to engage in some legislative advocacy today. Before we get going too far, any more questions or anything else that I can answer? The chat box is so quiet today. Well, this might be a quick and easy one, everybody. I want to put back up the talking points, and I'm going to leave them up and sit here in the Zoom for anybody who might have any questions. So sorry that Kyle wasn't able to join us, or the senator wasn't able to join us to talk about the importance of, when lawmakers hear from folks. On Monday, Senator Jill Shoup was able to join us and absolutely did talk about what that means to her when she hears from her constituents, and how that helps her to do her job more effectively. If you've got the time to go back and watch Mondays, you should. But for now, we want to encourage all of you to go forth and practice advocacy, engage your House of Representatives member around these talking points. And I'll be here if you have any questions or to report back, please do. Thanks so much, everybody, for spending some time with us. A bill, there's not a House bill number. It is the Senate Bill 153 is what it's currently attached to. Because it started in the Senate and it moved over to the House, and now it's in the House side, and we'd like the House to go ahead and include this in what they send back to the Senate.